Okay, cool. Are they unmuted? Are they here? Are they here?
They're here. They're on as a co-host, so they're here.
Oh, okay.
We're
What's
here.
up, guys?
What up?
All right. So let me try and do this introduction right, since we do have, like, I don't know if y'all know, there should probably be 500 people on the call because, like, I don't even, we have the number one female agent in the entire world here at Family First Life. Apparently, this just came out like 3 weeks ago. Andrew dropped it on a podcast, and then we started verifying numbers. Like, there's nobody that does close to what y'all do. And so I'm not sure what happened to Hayden and you in this mix. It's like they gave Nina all the props, but that's okay. Every now and again, we gotta let them have it. So that makes Jamie
All
number
good.
two. It's all good. So there should be 500 people on this call because I've watched Nina and Hayden and Nina from day one come in with really nothing and then just blow past everybody. And I watch people communicate with them, interact with them, and they have such good hearts to want to help people, and they're so good at what they do. I think we could all learn something from how they do this business. So I think today, so we're excited to have you on, by the way. Thank you. I know y'all are busy. Um, I think the topic y'all got given, or I don't know if it was you picked, was how to finish 2025 strong. And I think that's a good thing because you got the holidays coming up soon. Football just started. People tend to take off on Saturdays and Sundays to watch football or do whatever they do. So I'm going to turn it over to y'all because y'all are better than I am. And if you need me, I'll be here. But y'all can go as long as you want to go. And I greatly appreciate y'all hopping on, and we love you.
We love you,
Um,
Frankie. Thank you for having us, you guys. We love this team. We love what you guys are doing. We watch you guys and we watch the numbers you guys put up. So it's very, very inspiring. But we're super excited to be on here tonight. It's kind of crazy that it's already almost October. Like we're halfway through September. And this is actually our third agency call today with the same exact topic. So you're making it a little too easy on us. But I mean, truth be told, like historically, if you look at FFL's numbers, September, October, November, and December are historically FFL's biggest months. I think from a client standpoint, clients are, it's the holidays, people are on with their families, they're thinking more about life insurance, they're talking more about life insurance. So it's a topic of conversation. So I think more people are filling out leads for one. And I think for two, like on the agency side too, it's like we all want to make more money around the holidays. So I think that definitely kicks it up a notch for us. But one thing I'll say is this is I wrote down these four names: Heather, Peter, Ellis, and Dean. One of the most important things, you guys, in this business, and I'm sure, Frankie, there's a ton of new people on here. There's also a ton of people that have been here for a long time. But my biggest piece of advice to you guys would be, no matter where you're at in this business, look for someone that's doing more than you and seek mentorship. Like no matter what, no matter where you're at. Because I know for me personally, when I started selling insurance and I would have my weeks or months where I would issue pay, 4, 5, 6, 10K, and I felt like I wanted to quit all the time. And I would call some of the wrong people. Like I would call people that were also issuing 5, 6, 7K, 10 a month. And I always got the wrong advice from them. It was always, the leads suck, this sucks, that sucks, my life sucks, I'm gonna quit, everything sucks. And it wasn't until I started surrounding myself and talking to the right people that things actually changed. So if I were you guys, unless you're writing as much as Heather, Peter, Ellis, and Dean are writing, dude, I would reach out to those people. And one thing about FL is everyone's always willing to help out and give advice, but they're going to give you a whole different perspective on production, on business, on everything, and they're never going to complain. I know Hayden and we talk about Dean all the time because Dean is he's been here since, before we started, and he's a freaking killer, and he's always super positive and he loves being here. And we just love talking and just communicating with him overall because he's just always so positive about the business. So, if you want to have anything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the biggest thing, guys, is they always say like real estate is about location, business is about timing. And been doing this for almost 10 years now, and FFL has always been a good company and a big company, and like we've always had momentum. But I don't think we've ever. That's right, Dean. That's right, bro. I can always count on Dean to be in Facebook and be defending, you know, us and the company and like everything. So I appreciate you for that. But guys, like I've never seen the amount of one opportunity, but also momentum that we've had as a company than the last like 6 months, especially also the industry. So what I was telling people earlier is like right now is like the time. You know, we're going to the end of the year, all this kind of stuff, but it's like, dude, everyone is looking at virtual sales. Like everyone. If you look on social media, if you look at all the new people coming in, all the young people coming in, like everyone's looking at virtual sales. And when they look at virtual sales with the stuff that's going on in like solar and all these other like door-to-door things and other sales organizations, it's like life insurance virtually. That's like the thing right now that everyone's talking about, everyone's looking up, and there's a lot of good marketers, to be, you know, quite frank, that are getting their attention. So if people are looking at it, but then they're looking at family first life, that's like option number one, the biggest, the best, the loudest, the most marketed. And so it's like, all right, they're going to go virtual sales, then they're going to look at FFL, and then from there they're going to start looking at who are the best marketers and what teams are looking like they're the best, they're the most locked in, they're getting their agents paid, like they're going to at them, and then they're going to start reaching out to people and do interviews. Like the last like 6 months, dude, we've always recruited pretty well, but in the last 6 months, the amount of people reaching out from all these different industries, I've never seen anything like it, like ever. And so I think realizing the opportunity, and then to double back on that, it's this whole like tech and AI and like this wave. Like, dude, I've been to Dallas twice in the last like 2.5 weeks to talk about like the technology and Integrity Connect and Life Center and leads and AI and CR, like all this stuff. And where we're at is the parent company we work with, Integrity, is investing so many millions of dollars to get ahead of the whole AI and tech deal that it's like, it kind of reminds me of like 2020, 2021 when we were all in person. And then COVID happened, and it was either like, hey, we're going to change and get ahead of the curve and we're going to go and do virtual, or we're going to be the old school guys that say like, no, it doesn't work virtually. We're just going to wait it out and like keep on running in person. Well, the people that waited and kept on running in person, a lot of them, minus Dean, he's an animal. Most people got freaking ran over. Like they got ran over, they're dead or they're stuck. And the people that went virtual got ahead of it. They freaking exploded. They're way more efficient. They're growing like crazy. So that's the other thing I see is like with this whole tech thing and AI and what's going on, it's like, dude, we're at the forefront. We're already getting ahead of it. Whereas no other IMO, no other agency, no other insurance company in the next 6 months, year and a half is going to be able to touch us because we have all these things. So for you, I would be like rabid about building right now and also recruiting to that. Like that's one of my big recruiting pitches is I talk about integrity. I talk about Life Center. I talk about CRM. I talk about the underwriting stuff, the quote stuff, the single sign-on. Like I go on forever. And so I think just realizing that there's times in business when you jog and there's times in business when you sprint. Now is one of those times when you definitely sprint. And I think also the way you finish out the year, of course, is going to be how next year ultimately starts and probably how it goes. And so, you know, lots of good stuff. I'm fired up for it.
I think too, like in the beginning of the year, everyone, you know, we have the FFL convention in February. And I feel like at the beginning of the year, everyone's super excited. Everyone has their goals. Everyone's like, I'm going to go hit Hall of Fame, whatever that number may be to you. It might not be Hall of Fame. It might be 200, 300,000. But I think it's very important to evaluate where you're at in comparison to what goals you set for yourself. So right now it's like I'm the perfect example of someone who hit Hall of Fame last minute, because I was one of those people where I wasn't really consistent in the beginning of the year. I had like, by this point, a couple years ago, I probably had 100, maybe 200,000 left to go, and without half the year. Right. So I think it's important to know where you're at. Also important to like know exactly where you're headed and what you need to hit those numbers for the rest of the year. So like if you still need to write 150 or 50 to get to your goal, break that down by what you need to write per month, break that down to what you need to write per week and per day in order to hit that number for yourself.
Okay, so if I'm new and I want to start recruiting, and I'm noticing it too, like when I'm interviewing people and they're talking to other groups. And it's hard because they are talking to other groups at FFL and they're like, well, why should I come work with you? Why shouldn't I go work with Nina and Hayden? I'm like, well, shit, if I were me, I'd go work with them. Like it's hard because there are so many good groups here. How do these newer guys who haven't been here as long as y'all, that haven't built the following that you have, that don't have the respect y'all have, how can they talk to these people? And then how do we get them to understand that sometimes they aren't going to pick you? They're just going to go work with a Nina and Hayden or an Andrew or a John Wetmore because those guys have proven it. You haven't just yet.
Yeah, I think a couple things. I think one is your personal brand. I mean, guys, like you got to realize whether you like it or not, it's the truth. It's like when people hear about you, you know, they meet you, whatever, the first thing they're going to do is look you up on social media. And it's like if you don't have some sort of presence, they're just going to skip you and go to the next guy that has a presence. Like that's the way that it works in the reality. So one, I would get super dialed in on your social media. And does that mean you have to post all these TikToks and reels and everything? No, but what it means is if you only have, you know, 4 or 5 pictures from the last couple of years, and it's a lot of pictures of like you with your dog and like, you know, just like random stuff that's not like business related or like entrepreneurial and like lifestyle. It's like go take a few outfits, go to a few places, you know, this weekend, go take 6 pictures or some videos, talk about what you do, and boom, now we have a lot better brand to attract the people. And then I think the other thing, someone asked me the same exact question this morning, and I was like, how much are you writing? And he's like, I wrote 42 grand last month. I'm like, dude, if I were you, like the way to compete against the big dogs that have big teams, those guys aren't writing 40 grand anymore. So use your strengths. And for me, I would be screaming from the rooftops, I wrote 42 grand. I'm one of the best producers. I'll teach you. You can listen to me every single day. I'm in the fight still. You can be next to me. So it's like get creative and think about your advantages, whatever advantage that is. And just, I think, you know, just like what Frank said, there's going to be some people that want to work with you and some people that don't. Like we all have it every single day still. And it's one of those things where it's just like leads. It's like, you know what? I'm going to have my brand out there. So people are reaching out to me. I'm reaching out to people. And just like when you're calling insurance leads, if one tells you they're not interested or they don't want to buy, it is what it is. Go to the next one. But if you have enough of a pipeline from your marketing, it's like the numbers are going to work out just like they always do. You just got to have enough content and enough stuff to have people actually reaching out to you and have a good pipeline.
I think too, like ask yourself, would you want to work with you? Like that's the most important question. It's like, are you waking up early? Are you leading from the front? Are you selling insurance at a high level? Are you actively out there recruiting, bringing people on, selling, training, leading, developing? Are you doing all those things? And then if you aren't, that would be the answer of like, okay, maybe I understand why this person wouldn't want to work with me. These are certain things that I need to work on to improve in this business.
I think also too, guys, like marketing and like recruiting people isn't all about your deposits in the business. Like it's definitely not. It's about who you are. It's about your habits. It's about, you know, what you stand for.
It's
And
okay.
so, like,
I'm not in a rush.
so
Hey, hold
like,
tight. I'm gonna mute everybody because that absolutely
okay.
freaks it goes through me. You guys are gonna have to unmute in 1 second, okay? No,
Okay.
you can't unmute yourself. All right. Go ahead, unmute yourself again, guys. Sorry. Oh, you're already unmuted. All right, you
Sweet.
guys can rip. My
Cool.
apologies.
So like a lot of my like newer guys and gals, what they're doing is like they're just showing like the day in the life and like their habits. So they're waking up early. They're posting they're waking up early. They're posting that they're working out. They're posting, you know, motivational quote. They're posting, you know, their day of, you know, how many sales they made. They're also talking about other people on the team. That's one of the greatest things that I love is like you definitely need to lead from the front and be the example 1000%. But like Frank and Mike, if you guys remember, like 6-7 years ago, it's like, dude, there weren't too many examples of like beasts in the company. So you really had to be the guy or the gal to like lead from the front and like show that. So like with new people now, I'm like, dude, of course you need to lead from the front. But the beauty of it now is we have such a big company and there's so many people winning and right. It's like, dude, like what Mike said, we used to write 20 grand in a month and you were a big deal. Now it's like Dean and Heather and all these people are writing 100. It's insane. So I would just be really smart about leverage and sharing other people's stories. Doesn't have to be you at the start, but you have so many examples that it's not an excuse to not do that just because you haven't hit those numbers yet.
I think too, like a lot of people, like obviously we all post on social media to recruit. I think a lot of people sell the dream, and we're big on like selling the nightmare. Like we talk a lot about the bad parts of the business. So when you guys are going and marketing to your people on social media about the business, like an example of something to post would be like a day in my life as an insurance broker, talking about the good, the bad, the ugly. So like talk about, yes, I made a sale. Oh, then I went like 500 dials without making any sales. And then this person on the phone told me to F off. This person hung up at banking. Like talk about that stuff, because one, it's you're going to attract better people into your business. Like I don't want anyone to come in and think that this is easy, but I think posting stuff like that, and then like Hayden said, leveraging other people's stories. So I think early on people are like, well, what am I supposed to post if I don't have my success story yet? And ultimately there's so many people winning with the company. Like I would post the leaderboard that you guys had in the beginning of the call. That's a great start. It's going to pique curiosity somewhere, but also again, leveraging other people. So like, this is like one of my favorite stories ever to tell, but Hayden has a little brother, and his little brother is a couple years younger than him. And he's always been in the restaurant business. So he's been a server, bartender, manager, all that. He's watched Hayden over the last decade become very successful in the life insurance industry. And Hayden for the last 10 years has been telling him, dude, you should start selling life insurance. You'd make a lot of money. You should start selling life insurance. And in his mind, he was like, well, dude, like you're Hayden, like you could sell anything. You could do, like, you're going to kill it no matter what you do. And it got to a point where Hayden just kept pressuring him so much where he's like, dude, I can't force this guy into something he doesn't want to do. Fast forward, he went to Hayden's bachelor party, met a couple of the guys that we work with, and he was like, wait, this guy works with you? He makes how much? This guy works with you? How much does he make? Like, what do you mean? Why didn't you tell me that? And it took him seeing other people that like he maybe didn't think could be quote unquote as successful, even though Hayden's absolutely nothing special, for him to be like, okay, yeah, let me quit and let me quit the restaurant business. Let me go all in on this. And now he's, killing it. He's making more money than he ever has. But like, that's what I mean by sharing other people's stories. So there's so many people in the company winning at, a high level. So like for me, I always loved sharing Caitlin Blackburn's story. For those of you guys that don't know her, before she started FFL 4 years ago, she was a single mom, $2,500 a month income, living in California, was about to lose custody of her daughter. When she found FFL in April of 2021 to December of 2021, she issued $750,000 of business. That completely changed her life. She was able to keep custody of her daughter. She was able to do so many different things. So I think just using other people's stories, because you never know. Someone might see something and be like, oh, I may not relate to what Nina does, but I relate to what this person does.
Yeah, I think another thing on that, guys, is that's why like events are so important, and like this thing coming up in October, the Ignite conference, is so important because like we can all be on Zoom and like go through everything and like answer any question or whatever, but it's more powerful when you're in person and you see it with your own eyes. And like for both of us, that was like the biggest thing. For most people, it is. And it's the funny thing is it's not about the sales script. It's not about the objection handling. It's not about the recruiting strategy. Like it's about none of that. We all know how to do that if we actually apply ourselves. It's about seeing all these people that are old, young, all different races, all different places in the US. And you're just like, you see so many examples and you can relate, or you just are like, dude, why can they all do it and I can't? You know what? I'm sick and tired of it. I'm going to make it happen. So same thing, just like Dean just said, we grow by edifying, but we also grow by seeing other people and expanding our standards and, being able to hit those marks we want to hit.
Dude, and I think a lot of times it's people's ego that don't let them share other folks' success. Because the first business I started at, the guy that recruited me he was a pompous. I got little ones, so he was an ass. And when I met Sean, I was like, dude, I kind of like him. He's just raw. He's honest. It's more my speed. And he got so mad and jealous that I was getting help from somebody else other than him. And I'm not saying y'all, if you're not letting your folks like talk to other agents, your ego's way bigger. You're an ass, but dude, there's so many people here willing to help, and you're not going to relate to everybody. So you have to. I always tell people, go on YouTube, search Family First Life, and watch as many trainings as you can. Find somebody that relates to you, and follow that person. Like bug them, wear them out, and see if they'll give you a moment of their time. Because if it's easy to act like someone that's like you, like I couldn't act as mellow and calm as Hayden is. It's not. It's not who I'm. I'm not wired that way. But I've got people here that are super mellow. I'm like, oh, Hayden's your guy. Like he's just chill. So there's so much power in that. I don't think we do it enough. Um, can y'all talk to us a little bit about how you guys built your business through social media, what you did for how many years, about the messaging, and do you want to say hi? Say hi. No, you're a little nervous.
Hi,
Okay.
Cookie.
Hi.
She's so cute.
Okay,
I
got
think Frankie, to add to what you were just saying too, like about plugging your people into events, like, dude, I think Morgan and Ryan, and for those of you guys that don't know them, they're like the perfect example of this for people that were in the business for a while and killing it, but their goal was to always get past like that $1 million a month. But they wanted to keep their team so tight. They were like, no, we're not going to go to the events. There were those people that were like, well, we can't send our people off to a 3-day event because that's going to take away time from dialing. And real quickly did they realize when they went to this last Ignite conference, dude, they went to that next month. It was $1 million a month. Next month after that, it was 1.2. It was just more than just them, right? It was them getting in front of Sean, getting in front of top producers, top agency leaders. It was their people getting, exposed to something bigger. And I think FFL does a really, really freaking good job. Like I always tell this story. The first time I met Sean Mike, I came from another insurance company, and my first month I did like 17,000. And I thought I was like such a big deal because I did 17,000. And I went up to Sean and I go, hey, Sean, nice to meet you. My name's Nina. He goes, how much did you issue pay last month? I said 17K. He said, have some respect for yourself. I thought he was going to be like, great job. But I think like, I loved that because I was like, dang, like he set this bar so high. And like, that's why you see like, dude, we talk to people from other insurance IMOs and other companies. No one is doing what FFL does. From a leadership perspective, I don't think there's any leaders even remotely close to the top people here. And then also from a production standpoint, like Mike said early on, it's like we used to celebrate 20K a month, and now it's like, dude, someone, issue paying over 100K a month is insane. So I just wanted to hit on that, but Hayden, you can hit on this.
Yeah, in terms of social media, like what you're asking, Frank, is the first couple of years, we didn't really have like a social media following or anything like still like it's just we're like it's not like we're influenced, maybe Nina more than me, but it's just like regular. It's just like I think at the start when you're building your brand, you're building the content, all that kind of stuff, but a lot of it was outbound. So like the first like couple of years, like habitually, like every single morning, every single night, like every single day, dude, we were sending out 100 messages every single day, didn't miss a day. And we were adding 100 people every single day. So salespeople, like, dude, I remember one time Sean called me, and he was like, "Hey, I'm with this girl that's in solar. She might be on the call actually. I'm with this girl that's in solar, and she knew who you were because she was saying like all like the solar guys, like you messaged all of them and you followed them and like you're trying to recruit all of them." And like that's how like serious and intentional we got. Like, dude, we were messaging everyone, adding everyone. I knew like these like solar companies and insurance companies, like who was the top manager, who were the top producers, because I was just like that was my like we were trying to get in and like recruit as many people. And so that's one thing. Like we got to our first 150 grand, 200 grand a month from cold market LinkedIn. There's a ex college cheerleader. There was a pastor. There was a dude that was serving burgers at Bad Jimmy's. Like there's like just these random people that weren't salespeople, had no experience, And they came in, they saw opportunity, and dude, they just started writing 30, 40, 50 grand a month and recruiting like animals. And so we got to like our first like VP bonus by just LinkedIn, random people we never met, never seen a day in our life. So that just goes to show, just like calling, if you guys do the reps of recruiting and you consistently do that, do it for like 90 days. And I promise you, you guys will recruit a ton of people and have a business. And then it's one of those things where it's like, you don't have to do that forever, because the nice thing about the social media and like the building your brand is you do that enough and the pendulum starts to switch, where now we definitely still send outbound messages, but there's so many inbound coming just because there's a bunch of content out there that it's a lot easier than it was day one, just like anything, just like selling. So if I was, anyone that wants to build a business, I challenge you, go send 100 messages a day, go add 100 people a day on Instagram or LinkedIn, and do it for the next 90 days and see what happens.
I think too, if you guys, like I said, don't know what to post, follow people that do. We have a perfect example of a girl on our team who called me probably about a year ago. Her name's Nicolette McGinnon. And she called me about a year ago because she's been with us for about 4.5, 5 years. And she got to the point in her business where she's like, dude, I'm hovering around this 100, 150K a month over the last 5 years. Like, I cannot seem to get past this. Like, I think I'm going to quit. So this was where she was at about a year ago. Fast forward to last month, I think she paid close to 600,000 as an agency, which was huge for her. But one of the things that she did is she was like, dude, if what I'm doing is not working, like I need to switch something up. So what she did is she hired a content team, and she produces at a high level. So she's able to afford to invest back into her business, which is key. But she hired a content team, and they just come out and they literally batch content. They'll have one day of filming, and they'll film a month's worth of content in that one day. And essentially what she did, go to her Instagram, watch all her content, but she had no content on her page. And she posted every single day, a reel a day for 90 days straight. 90 days straight, did not miss a single day. And for her, it wasn't about, oh, how many likes am I going to get? Because I think that's just the dumbest thing. Like, who cares how many likes you're getting on something? It was just, for one, to make her page look really, really good. That way, when couple months down the line, someone goes to her page, they could scroll forever and see that she's actively putting out content. But two, like, now she's at the point where her content is just so good that people are reaching out to her all the time. So there's really two ways. One is going to be attraction marketing. So that's you posting the videos, posting the day in the lives, posting, like, I've seen one pop off on TikTok recently where it's like how much I spent and how much I made as a life insurance broker. And it's literally a photo, and it's like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then how much they made versus how much they spent. I've seen those pop off. Just posting different things to attract people into your business. But two, outreach is super, super important too. Like Hayden said, like, we sent hundreds of messages when we first started out because we had to. So I encourage you guys to do the same. Like, it's so easy to find people on social media nowadays too. Like, if you hashtag life insurance agent, I think there's like 400,000 posts just under that one hashtag. Mind you, some people might be with FFL, but there's also, Frankie, how many agents are at FFL? Writers?
I mean, since the beginning, or how many write every month?
How many write a month?
About 8,000.
About 8,000 write a month. Guys, there's 2 million licensed life insurance agents out there. Like, we're not even scratching the surface. So that's a ton of people that you guys can reach out to, that more than likely are at a lower comp and don't have the systems that we do. So I encourage you guys to just do it. Like, challenge yourself to like a 90-day run of, okay, I'm going to do, whether it's production, if it's on the production side, if you have a goal of like, I need to go write 50, 60, 100, whatever that number it is, challenge yourself there over the next 90 days. But if it's building a business, challenge yourself to post every single day for 90 days. And if you don't want to post, challenge yourself to reach out to someone every single day for 90 days.
What do you guys say to the teams? Because Jamie and I have dealt with this, where they're like, well, they'll say to me, I don't have a Jamie, or they'll say to Jamie, I don't have a Frank. And I know how I handle that. because you do have some couples that work with y'all just like we do, but they're more singles than couples. How do you handle the people that go, well, it's two of you building a business, you know, I'm only one. Have you ever gotten that, and how do you guys respond to that?
Honestly, I don't know I've ever gotten that, to be honest. But probably what I would like, I mean, I think one, if you have like a, you know, business partner, whether it's a spouse, brother, sister, friend, like whatever, you know, if they don't want to be in the business, then maybe hire them as staff and have them, you know, do stuff like that. And I guess the positive side is if it's only you don't have to deal with a lot of the arguments and problems and stuff that may happen if you work with your spouse. Maybe there's maybe you flip it on him, Frankie. You give him some positive.
I think just looking, numbers are numbers and facts are facts. And it's like the people that have actually like built big businesses in this, most are mainly single people. There's not really too many couples that are doing this. So it's like, you think, I mean, of course, Andrew had Nicole who helped him with like the back end stuff, and like Grady Polson has Chantel, of course, that like supports him and takes care of family and stuff like that at home. But it's like, it's very rare that two people are really building this together. You know who asked me that the other day is Christo. Christo does close to $1 million a month. And he said, well, you guys have it easy because there's two of you guys. I said, no, dude, you're freaking killing it.
For sure. Well, my deal is always like, we stayed in our lanes. And so Jamie's more organized, and not that she's replaceable, but I could have hired somebody to do a lot of stuff that she did. She's very good at what she does, but she could also hired somebody to do what I did. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't buy it, but I just wonder if y'all get it, because we used to get it. We used to get it all the time. We don't get it as much anymore. But I do agree with you. It's like when you have to run stuff by, and it's not like you have to, but just, you know, you're with your business partner 24/7, like 24/7. So everything comes up and it's all business usually. So I agree with you. I like that, Hayden. Flip it on and be like, well, no, you don't want to deal with what I have to deal with, even though like I wouldn't have it any other way, and I'm sure you two wouldn't either. Um, Let me see. Mike, if you have any questions, Mike, I could ask them questions for 10 hours, but I know they've done 3 calls today. So, I mean, we could probably wrap it up early. I do want to ask one more. When y'all get somebody started, what is how do you set the expectations, and what are your expectations of a new agent as far as sales go? And do you get them building right away?
Yeah, so I think two things to it. One is the structure, and then the second one is the speed. And so like from the start, so all right, so let me back up. Everything you guys expect and want to have happen with a new agent, it's really easy if you set it up on the front end before we even get to that point. So like when we're recruiting an agent and then they pass their test, I let them know exactly like what the process is. You're going to get your fingerprints, you're going to get your license, have a void check because you're going to need to do contracting. Once you submit contracting, which takes you less than 20 minutes, we're starting our boot camp that day and you're finishing it. Day 2, you're going to do a lead strategy call and an onboarding call with your manager. We're going to role play the script. We're going to talk about leads. We're going to talk about schedule. We're going to talk about all that stuff. Day 3 is you're going to be either in our office if you're local, or you're going to be on Zoom and you're going to listen to a bunch of calls. And by that point, especially with like having combined now in America so fast, it's like after they submit contracting, they're going to have a couple carriers within 48 to 72 hours, probably more like 1 to 2 days. So then at that point, it's like we need to basically after that, we need to get on the phone, start making calls. Everyone's going to suck when they start, but you have to start somewhere and, you know, get the reps and you're going to get better as time goes on. And then I think from there, I mean, dude, our office is pretty packed now all the time now. You know, we have a bunch of Zoom and stuff like that. So I think the other thing that I always tell agents is like, you know, kind of like find the why of your agents and what they want in terms of their goals. And then from there, it's like, dude, if someone writes over 20K a month, they don't have to come in the office. They don't have to go on Zoom. Like if that's all they want and they're going to keep on writing 20K a month, then awesome. Like you're doing great. We're all independent. But the people that want bigger goals and want, you know, bigger things that are maybe writing $5,000 or $10,000 or $12,000 a month, I'm like, dude, we need you either in the office or Zoom because we have to hold you accountable because what you're doing is not working. So the only way this is going to get fixed is if you actually show up like a regular job so we can hear you and watch you. and then solve it that way.
I think it's like, it's ultimately treating it like a job till it pays you like a business. So like I tell every single new agent, it's like, dude, come in and work 40 hours a week. There's genuinely, I think if you work this a true 40 hours a week, like I don't think there's any way to fail. We are in the office all the time. And there's this, I hired an agent a couple months back and she came into the office. She got here probably around, this was like a couple weeks ago, but got in around, I think it was like 9-10 a.m. And she was sitting there. I was watching her. She was like on her phone, scrolling TikTok, doing her thing. And it was like 1:30ish. And she's packing her stuff up and putting it in her bag. And she's ready to head out the door. And I looked at her and I was like, where are you going? And she's like, oh, like, dude, I've been dialing all day. No one's picking up. I said, what do you mean? No one, you've been dialing all day. No one's picking me up. I said, like, let me see your phone. Let me see like how many dials you've actually made. I took a video of this for proof. I'm like, dude, one day we're going to look back at this. But I took a video. She called 14 people, 14 leads she dialed, 14. I said, no, you have not been dialing all day. You've taken all day to dial. I'm like, dude, this is your problem. Like a lot of people just are like so easily distracted, whether it's social media, whatever it is. Like we're just, as human beings, like I understand it. But I was like, sit down, dial now from 1:30 it was until 5-6 and genuinely dial, see how many dials you could get in, see how many presentations you can get in. And literally from the time she was about to leave until 6 p.m., she had made like 400 dials and she made a sale. So it's like all about how you're utilizing your time. And that's just, I would say, the most important piece of it.
Dude, I love that. You didn't dial all day. You took all day to dial. That's one of the greatest statements I've ever heard. And it's so true because people don't understand. This is just a contact sport. Like you need contact and it's pure activity. That's everybody looks at people like Dean and Heather and you guys and all the other top producers here. They're like, they're so amazing. I'm like, no, they're not. Like they just worked really hard. They just they dial like their hair's on fire. So for me, it was somebody gave me an analogy one time. They were like, you know, this is when I started. So I've been doing this for 16 years. My oldest is 24, so he was 8, and Elena was 6, and Tino was not even born. And I was like, they were like, if your children, if you know, you're on top of the 2 tallest buildings in the world that were like the same height, and you're on top of one building, your children on top of the other building, and the building was on fire, and you had a 2x4 connecting them. Would you not walk across that to get it? I'm like, yeah, I would do that. And they were like, all right, so if your child was sick, and the doctor said, you know, good news, bad news. Bad news, he's got a deathly ill condition. Good news is one pill can fix it, but that pill's $100,000. How much would you sleep to get $100,000? I was like, I would never sleep. He's like, it's kind of how you got to work this business in the beginning. Like it's 24/7, 7 days a week, until you get it and work it until it pays you like a business. So, you got anything y'all want to wrap up with? We can wrap it up a little bit early. I think this was a
I have a
great
question
call.
for you guys.
Oh, good. There you go.
How do you guys handle, a lot of times people they're afraid to build just for debt. Like, how do you guys handle that when you talk to someone and they're concerned about roll-up debt? They talk about that. I think that's what I hear a lot of people say when they don't want to hire. How do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. You know, I think one thing is just thinking like a business owner. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, we look in the business, we look in our business, who makes the most money? Like who makes the most money? It's the people with the biggest teams, right? They make the most money. Let's look at different businesses. Look at Costco, Walmart, grocery stores, Target. Like, dude, they have chargebacks too. It's called waste, and it's called when people steal from you.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think when you come into this, you have to think level-headed and be like, hey, there is going to be some fraud. There's going to be some waste. There's going to be some theft. And like, that's what it is. Thankfully now with the insurance carriers, like they're pretty damn, like the security is pretty dang good now where it's really hard to do fraud. So that's one thing. And that's kind of like knocked out now. 2 is they limit the advances and so everything like that. And I think, you know, like, dude, we've been burned with debt for sure. Like I can tell all my stories, like, trust me, like we've been burned before. but we haven't been burned in the last 4 years. Like early on, we were hiring anybody and everybody. I was hiring people to speak Spanish. I don't even speak Spanish, but I thought it was a good idea somehow. Like when I say we were hiring everybody and anybody, like we were. And also I think like at some point you have to take some responsibility in your business, whether it's hiring a staff to do it or you're doing it, looking through the carrier portals, and also realizing this is one thing I've learned, Mike. If a new agent pops up and writes $100,000 their first month or 70 grand or whatever, and they don't go in the office, they don't go on Zoom, something is probably weird. 99.9% of the time. Same thing. If someone if someone grows so fast, I'm like, something's probably kind of weird with that. Cause I know kind of the pace of how fast you can grow when it's legitimate and when it's just kind of BS, bad quality business. And so I think as a business owner, you take those precautions, but I think also just realizing, like we said, man, all businesses, they have risks, they have loss, they have theft, they have fraud, and realizing the risk and reward. What's the cost of no chargebacks? Well, you can sell insurance your whole life. If you don't want to build a team, like that's kind of like the reality of what it is. Or you can say, hey, you know what? Like I'm going to do all the precautions I can. If 10% or 5% or 15% or whatever is, waste and theft and fraud and all this kind of stuff, that's part of the business. And it's and you're always growing, you're not going to ever really get stuck with that. It's going to disable you because you always have new revenue and stuff coming in where it's not going to affect you as much.
I think too, like Jay Masca says this all the time, is width is profitability, depth is stability in this business. So it's like always hiring more and new people. I feel like oftentimes people get burned and also burnt out of this business when they're talking to the same people all the time, like 24/7. And these people don't really want to deal with them anymore. So like for me, I'm always hiring new people and bringing in new blood. They keep me excited in this business.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. I saw a good question here. Someone asked, when a new agent comes in, what is your typical lead strategy for someone new that's walking in the door?
Yeah, I think early on, like it's super important to keep it super simple. Now, if someone comes in with a ton of insurance experience, they've sold, like, yeah, maybe get them into something like mortgage, IULs, annuities, stuff like that. But I think early on, if someone's brand new to the industry, brand new to selling life insurance, I think starting them with something like FEX or veteran or something stupid simple like that, it makes it easier for them and for you as well. Because like when a new agent comes on board, they don't want to have to learn about, all these different insurance carriers, all these different products, where it's like when you start with FEX or veteran, it's like you're mainly really only running like the whole life products. So I think starting with that, but I think also like a lot of new agents come in, maybe they don't have that much money to spend in leads. So they're starting with like, aged leads that might be $1, $2, $3 a lead. But I let those agents know, like, hey, your goal here isn't to be on these leads forever. And this is supposed to be hard for a short period of time. But our goal is to, in the next 30, 60, 90 days, get you into a higher intent, higher quality lead. So maybe we'll pivot them into something like a fresh veteran lead. Maybe we'll pivot them into something like a trucker lead or like a digital mortgage protection, like eat those leads, you name them, we'll pivot them over. But I think early on, just keeping things as simple as possible is key. Getting agents to like really master one thing. I know for me personally, when I started with FFL, I ran final expense for 6 months. I got to the point where I was like, dang, like, okay, I don't feel as challenged anymore. Maybe I should get into something else. I felt like my level of production was always kind of around the same amount. So that's when I got into mortgage protection. So I would kind of evaluate where you're at, but I would say that's a really good path for new people.
Yep.
Perfect. Any other questions from anyone? Awesome. Well, appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Thank you.
Thanks
We
for
appreciate
having
you
us.
guys. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
All right.
Later, guys.
See you guys
Say
next
goodbye.
week. Thanks, Nina, Hayden.
Bye.